Asante. Uh, Good evening, all of you. How was my week? My week was good. Uh, I can't complain. It was very successful. And I'm looking forward to learn and know more about correctional facilities and how they can, how they affect, whether they correct or they make things worse. And also, I'm eager to learn because this is not my own topic, it is our topic. So I'm very grateful to be part of this meeting. To begin, our first, or the order of our topic today is about around 6 highlights, which all of you know from the group. And the first one was the definition. I remember when I was asking Dorcas about it, I said I had an open mind, like would like to know what is actually the correctional facility. And I was pointing about prison. I was also pointing about rehab. I was also pointing out several others. But when I check in the dictionary, actually, a correctional facility is a prison or jail or maybe remand. And I was wondering why can't we also involve rehab as part of correctional facility? Maybe it's an open question to all of us to consider or ask ourselves whether rehabilitation center is also a correctional facility. Yeah, so I open up the forum for all of us to contribute into our topic. Welcome all.
What's the first question?
The definition of correctional facility.
Can I start?
Yes.
I think correction facility is the facility that does correction. I know as a lecturer, you think I'm the worst student ever, but but I think you can just derive it from the word. It's supposed to correct. So it's a facility that is supposed to correct and rehabilitate. Of course, we normally use the rehabilitation centers because for the young ones, people who are age. But I think you see, how do I put it? The whole goal of the whole justice system should be, first of all, retribution. It's normally justice, and justice can come in terms of retribution, which is sort of some revenge, and sort of rehabilitation or correction. It's the justice system exists because we realize that the facility, not justice system, but the prison exists because we realize there are some wrongs we cannot undo. Once you've killed someone, that's it. There isn't much we can do to undo that. But then we also realize that society is progressive. We can't stay there mourning forever. So we have to try and see how can we prevent such occurrences in future, or at least minimize them. And so that's why they come up. One of the, actually, if you read not the manifesto, but the Charter of Kenya Prisons and all those ones, they talk more about correction. Whether they live up to that is a different thing. But correction per se for me is where people go to to correct their behaviors, try and make up wrong what was right. Yeah. Try to make up right what was wrong.
Thank you, Maurice. Let's hear from Muriuki. I saw the hand of Muriuki first before David.
Okay, thanks, Anthony. Am I clear? Can you hear me?
And also remember, we are also asking ourselves the types, not definition only. We also thinking about the types of correctional facilities.
Yeah. So for me, a correctional facility is a place where you go to be helped to change your behavior. Like if you have weaknesses somewhere, you go there to be changed, to become a better person. Yeah, it's for me, it should be a place to make you a better person. Thanks.
Thank you, Muriuki. To change our behavior and to make us a better person. What are the types of correctional facilities, Muriuki, if I may ask again?
Okay, for juveniles, I don't know, approved school if they come into that category. These schools for juveniles, for young boys and girls, approved schools. I think that's also a facility for correction.
Thank you, Muriuki.
Approved schools. Yeah.
Okay.
What else? Yeah, even rehab, what you mentioned, rehab, even maybe AA.
Thank you. Let's give this a chance to Madam David.
Thank you, Anthony. Let me start by saying that, and I do not know about Kiswahili, somebody can actually correct me if Kiswahili has a difference between prison and jail, because they are different. Na sijui Kiswahili, Waswahili mko wapi, El Maestro? Prison and jail. Sasa jail, you go to wait your day with the judge, while prison, or a brief, or you have got a 30-day or 3-month stint, while prison is you have umekatiwa, your case has been decided, committee ni kablong, something like that. Yeah, so I think somebody could actually help us with the Kiswahili word or the differentiation in Kenya, in Kenyan terms. Also, the different kind of prisons, I think there are very many, and I do not know them. I don't know the different kinds of prisons. Thank you.
Is prison and jail ni jela, prison ni gerezani.
Yeah.
Jail ni jela, prison gerezani.
Yeah, very true.
A correction facility.
Zinaitwa committee.
Committee, I think, is just one of the jail, or one of the prison, like the way we have Langata. So it's a place. Okay, let's hear from
naitwa gereza la marekebisho.
Yeah. Let's hear from Dorcas.
Okay, I don't know if I'm audible. Great,
Yes.
great. Because I switched earphones, so I needed to confirm. The definition of A correctional facility, it is exactly what you said, Mr. Moderator, as implied in the dictionary. This is a place where convicts who have been arrested and convicted are taken. So you have to have committed a crime, then sentenced. You know, your case should have been heard in the court of law. And after that decision has been made, you are taken to a correctional facility. Now, what is the purpose? Why do we have correctional facilities? The reason why we have them is fourfold, and perhaps we will delve deeper into them as we proceed. But we usually have correctional facilities because, one, we want to deter members of society from committing similar crimes. Once they see that this person has been arrested and they're doing time for stealing, then the other person who is contemplating stealing will not do it. That is deterrence. Deterrence also applies to the individual themselves, right? In that they will not repeat the crime. Second is rehabilitation. Rehabilitation, which is the more sustainable one, the one that I personally endorse, and I think all correctional facilities should go for that one, which is to prevent this person from committing future crimes, you know, to empower them such that they no longer need to commit the crime. Three is incapacitation. That is a short-term goal. Maybe this person is a danger to society. Maybe they are a serial killer, or they've just been going around committing crimes. So we need to incapacitate them, keep them from committing their crimes. And then the final one is retribution. We take people to correctional facilities to punish them. It's like revenge. This person has beaten you up and they've stolen 20,000 shillings from your ATM, from ATM card, or from your ATM card, or through your ATM card, or through your M-Pesa. They've beaten you up and they've left you lying prostrate in the streets. You feel bad about it and you want to see them pay. They need to do time. That is the retributive function. So those are the reasons why they exist. Types of correctional facilities. As we've defined it, a correctional facility is a place where a person that has been arrested and convicted is taken. So we've got maximum security prisons, we've got minimum security prisons, then we have prisons for women and men. Of course, it is sex segregated. Although in the US and some Western countries, they've been having this problem with transgenders who are faking their identity in order to go to women's prisons and enjoy themselves over there. It's just such a hot mess. But yeah, they're sex segregated. So we have women's prisons, we have men's prisons. And then we also have, they're segregated by age in terms of minors and adults. So we have juvenile detention facilities or approved schools, which Morioki mentioned, and prisons for adults. So we have those categories. Now, there's this thin line or this question which the moderator asked, what about mental health centers as well as rehabilitation centers? Those ones are ambiguous. You can't quite call them correctional facility because those are not the only audiences they target. A rehabilitation center doesn't just house criminals who are drug addicted or alcohol addicted. We have just a kawaida person who who is addicted, who is an alcoholic, and they go to a rehabilitation center for it. However,
Why using the word alcohol addicted and criminal interchangeably?
When you mention his alcohol, his first love, he will be up in arms. No, I'm not using them interchangeably. In fact, I'm saying that there are people who are addicted to alcohol and they are not criminals. They're just kawaida people who have been overtaken by their dependence on the alcohol. So given the fact that rehabilitation centers cater to non-criminals, yeah, we can't solely call them correctional facilities, but I also don't want to brush it off, because I'm thinking if somebody is addicted to a substance, they should be taken to a rehabilitation center if it has been determined that it is the substance that has the crime. Now, I don't know what happens in our Kenyan system, because our Kenyan system is really bare bones. I don't know whether we are sophisticated enough to send people who committed crimes under the influence to rehabilitation centers. I doubt it. I think people are just thrown in jail. They're thrown in jail and taken to prison. They really don't care for these nuances in Kenya. But someone could correct me if you are more familiar with this. I have qualified my statement. On the mental health facility, I believe we have maximum security mental health centers where a person who is criminally insane, who was mentally unstable while committing a crime, or actually maybe they are permanently mentally unstable, those individuals should be taken to that facility. So again, I'm also reluctant to fully consider mental health centers as rehabilitation centers, because they don't just target criminals. They also take on individuals who just have mental health challenges. So those ones, the rehabilitation centers as well as the mental health facilities are ambiguous. They're in no man's land, so to speak. But I think what comes to mind when we consider correctional facilities is predominantly prisons. Gereza, as our Kiswahili teacher said. Thank you.
Thank you, Dorcas. However, I still look at the word correctional facility, and I start to be corrected. Does it, or is it necessarily you need to be corrected because you have committed a crime?
Or
I am asking, is it a must that you should have committed a crime for you to be corrected, or you can be corrected from your behavior, like addiction
Anthony,
or something like that?
Can I respond? Yes.
Yes.
In this sense, according to the dictionary definition, let's stick to the dictionary definition. Otherwise, now we are going to veer into a territory that has little to do with the topic today. The dictionary definition for a correctional facility is a place where someone has been arrested and convicted, where they are housed. So it has to be the element of crime must be there. Now, when you start including any other thing out there, I think now you are losing the plot. You're making the topic too broad. That's my take. It's just my opinion. I don't know about others.
I agree. Let's hear from Jihi. I saw your hand up.
Is that me, Anthony?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So the correction, for example, somebody who was caught in drunk driving. Okay.
Just a minute.
You,
A minute. A minute. Anthony, were you asking whether it is Jihi or Deve?
yes, yeah, I asked.
I had a Jihi.
I was referring Jihi. I didn't know whether Devi was still on the way.
Oh.
Okay, go,
okay.
go, Jihi, because you have not spoken. Go, Jihi. We can't wait to hear you.
We can't hear your voice. Unmute.
You're muted. Okay, let me try and unmute him. For some reason, I can't unmute. I can only ask somebody to unmute. Gee, you just go to the bottom part of your screen where you see the microphone, you click on it, the microphone icon. But as you figure it out, maybe moderator, you can proceed to the next person.
Okay, let's hear from Dave as G tries to unmute.
Thanks, Anthony. So correction, from what I know about correction, if you have been convicted for drunk driving, you can go to a correction, or if you have got other issues, then you can go to AA. So it's a bit they are a bit nuanced as to where you will go for what kind of thing. But I don't think that someone who is drunken and disorderly should go to prison. They should go to AA. not to go to correction. I'm just asking for clarification here. Thank you. Dorcas, you probably can clarify which correction somebody goes for drunk and disorderly, or somebody more serious like drunk and driving, where you could actually kill somebody. Yeah, thank you. And I'm not trying to get us bogged into that. I'm just looking for clarification.
Dorcas, let's hear from you about the issue that Dave has raised.
Okay. I want to speak from a point of knowledge.
I have Googled what is the punishment for drunk and disorderly in Kenya. I'm looking at a case A court case. Nimekunywa maji ya sabuni ndio. Nasema hivi. I'm looking at a court case which involved a drunk and disorderly individual. And what happened is, it says he admitted to the charge at the outset and he was convicted and fined Kenya shillings 5,000 or to serve 2 months imprisonment in default. Yeah, so the judge cited section 33(2) of the Alcoholic Drinks Control Act 2010, which says any person convicted of being drunk and incapable or drunk and disorderly in or near a place referred to as in subsection 1 shall be liable to a fine not exceeding 500 shillings. Ai, hiyo ni kidogo, huyu alikulia. 500 shillings or to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 3 months or both. So unfortunately, as I said, in Kenya, we are not that nuanced, we are not that sophisticated. We just throw you in jail. We send you to prison. We don't have that provision.
Thank you. Let me try to unmute Jihi. Also try to unmute yourself so that you can contribute to your point.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was some develop challenges right there. So in my opinion, I think this correction facilities are there to make sure that we run the society the right way. You know, I mean, like you cannot allow other people to destroy your peace. Yeah, that's my opinion. So I think it's a good idea to correct whoever tries to steal your peace or maybe to make things ugly. You know what I mean? Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Although I find you have tried to skip to our next question, and that's where we begin right now. Why do they exist? That is our next topic in our meeting. We'd like to know, why do these correctional facilities exist? Yeah, let's hear from Murioki.
Okay, thanks, Anthony. From the top of my head, well, I'll say they exist because there are people who are less fortunate, like maybe poor people who come from the slums. So when they have difficult backgrounds. So when they do wrong things, they're taken there to see how life works, how there are rules, there are restrictions. You can't just do what you want. So they exist to show people how life works, because life has to be organized. You just can't do what you want. There has to be a structure in life. So they teach you that, how to be structured in life, how to follow rules. Thanks.
Thank you, Murioki. As I give the next participant, I was also thinking about the number of prisons country-wise, and as we contribute to this topic, we'd like to ask ourselves, why do which countries do they have so many prisons, and which countries they have less prisons, and what could be the reason or why? Do we still have any country without any prison, or maybe prisons are there but they don't have anybody, or maybe very few people or inmates? Yeah, let's hear from Madam Deve.
Thank you. So what question was I going to answer?
Why do
I
they
forgot what I was.
exist?
Oh, yes, yes. And I had in the beginning, I had said that there are people, unfortunately, we cannot conscience, like we just can't conscience that person. What they have done, maybe what they've done continually, is such that we just can't let them be in the society. But let me start with the real reason that we have to do this, unfortunately. It is called the broken window. I'm sure many of you have heard about the broken window analogy or situation, whereby if a window gets broken, let's say in a school, a window is broken and it is not repaired, the kids will not feel too bad breaking another window. But if that window had been repaired, the kids would feel bad breaking a window. It would be harder to break another window and have two broken windows from the first one. The same analogy would be, you see people throwing their garbage through the window of a bus. Another person will not feel too bad throwing their garbage also through the bus. Another thing is that you go to the marketplace and there is banana peels and whatever other things all over the market. If you throw another one, what's the big deal? You're just throwing one more thing on the floor, in the market. So this is to say that if one person is not punished for something that they have done, what is going to stop the next person from doing the same thing? So you see, on the one hand, I have got the broken window analogy that yes, people need to know that you can get away with it. And on the other hand, you also need to know that there are some people who don't have to go that particular place. They can go in a different place. And even the people that go to jail, they also are humans and they have to be corrected. It's a correctional facility. They have to be corrected and see if they can become contributing members of the society, because any person that we have in there is one person that we've lost to the contribution of the society. So it's a dilemma as to why they exist. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam David. Let's hear from Maurice. I saw your hand a bit earlier.
I've even lost track. So I wanted to address the area issue of Devin and Madam Soita about prevention. You know, we are looking the role of prevention in all this. As much as Soita would like to insist that the role of the correction facilities is mostly to do with rehabilitation and punishment, because mostly those things happen after conviction. There's also an element of prevention. There are normally three things that are taught in law. And the purpose of law is justice is to prevent retribution, which is revenge, to prevent, to revenge, and I don't remember the other one. I think to try to make even. So prevention is a big element, but prevention is also the most tricky of all of them, because prevention would mean you preempt a crime. You prevent I want to punish you. I want to assume you are going to kill someone next week, so I want to start punishing you now for that crime. That's normally the tricky thing with prevention of crime. You have to have a prevention, and that is why normally prevention is left to the society generally, in terms of their norms, the morals, the cultures, those things, those factors, like in terms of dealing with mental health. or as Soita would call it, in terms of people who have alcohol problems, dealing with those things, because there is a presumption that they might result in a crime. But it's not everything that has been left to the society. And that now answers David's question. It's technically not a crime. It's technically not a crime to drink and drive. It's only that there's a presumption that you are most likely going to cause an accident. Drinking and driving home safe is not a crime. But in most cases, it always results in an accident. You're endangering other people's lives. So that is why there's a law which has a preventive measure. It's not punishing a crime, it's punishing a behavior that preempts that you're likely to commit a crime. Because once you're on the road drunk, you're most likely to commit a road accident. And negligently for that case. So yeah, prevention is a big factor when it comes to correctional facilities. Yes, they want correction happens after the crime or after the event, but prevention is also a big thing. And that's bringing the issues of those drunk and driving. There's something else you asked. What was it? I think I've forgotten the other question you asked.
As we discussed about it, I was requesting ourselves to think about the number of countries, the number of prisons country-wise.
Yeah. So can I address that briefly?
Yes.
No, in Kenya is not one of the, there's what we call a population per capita, like how many people are in jail compared to population, like percentage of the proportion of the population. Of course, US is always number one. US has always been, nobody catches with US. It's like far ahead. And then it's normally followed by mostly, I don't remember the country, but they are mostly, all the countries that follow that are mostly South America, Latin American countries. From Brazil to Ecuador to El Salvador, Colombia, all those countries. Mexico is also on top of that list. These are countries that have a higher population to prisoners to population ratio. For US, it's a conundrum because it's a conundrum because most countries also in the world look up to US justice system as a role model, as a model justice system. Yet it has one of the highest jail, and especially also one of the most racially obvious, like they're more black in US prison than any other race. So the US is normally attributed to the privatization. It's not even a society factor. It's because most US prisons tend to be private. That's why they call the industrial prison complex or the jail complex, where there is a profit incentive to keep people in jail. Those prisons are paid per how many prisoners you're keeping in jail. So those people tend to lobby the judges to jail people. The system tend to jail people for crimes or petty offenses that would otherwise be bailable or be punished with maybe things like probation. So I think that is, our US is the leading one, but it's also an outlier. Of course, the Latin America is mostly the war on drugs, especially Mexico. There are places where even government can't go because of drugs. It has taken over provinces. So that's another thing. But I think in Kenya, we're not doing bad, but I wish we'd have fewer jails. I wish we'd have, I would guess, I don't have data, but I would guess the reason we have many jails in Kenya or prisons in Kenya is also slightly to do with our failure of our creativity in our justice system. But it's either you're in jail or you're not. There's no creative way to punish, especially non-violent crimes. If you con someone 50,000, it's a crime, yes, but I think there should be a way, some sort of community service, some sort of things that you can do, because it's not a violent crime. You're not a violent person. But you're also not a very innocent person. So I don't think we should be putting people who have conned someone 10,000 with someone who murdered 3 people in the same facility. It's crazy. So it's a justice system that is not innovative. And also we have a justice system that is designed, by design, is meant to fail. Actually, I normally say the thing that is holding our justice system is the courts. If you look at the prison system, if you look at the police, if you look at, like, we don't invest in educating or enlightening or whatever. It's left for the worst. It's assumed it's the worst that go to prison. So police, prison, whatever, it's left. It's not managed professionally, and I think that's the problem. That's the problem we have. The other thing I also have is, final thing I'll say is, and this one I saw firsthand, is there's a huge portion of our I don't have the data, but I have anecdotal evidence that a large percent of our prisoners, or prison people in jail and prison in Kenya, a large portion of those are people who are in remand, not people who have been convicted. There was a time I was arrested for, quote unquote, insulting Muslim, and I was remanded in Nakuru prison, Nakuru remand, for 2 days, and it was so crowded. It is the prison and a remand at the same facility, but 3/4 of the facility is remand. The prison only takes like less than a quarter, because most people are there for petty offenses. They cannot afford a bail. People are there for they were given bails of even 2,000. They could not afford it. It's crowded, and this is Nakuru. So you can imagine Nairobi, what is happening, or in Mombasa, in bigger cities. So I think that's also a bigger challenge, where if people are in prison, even some offenses, sometimes there are lawyers who go through those prisons, who are volunteer. They are volunteer organization that normally go through those remand, advising people that if you're in prison if you're in remand for like a petty offense, some people are in remand for a year or 2, waiting for a hearing for an offense that, if they had admitted the guilt, they would have been jailed for a month maximum. But you're kept in remand for a year, waiting for your case to be heard, and then you're jailed. Oh, you've been fined 2,000. So it's that kind of poverty, and also not being aware. So I think that's another factor that is very unique to Kenya, where someone cannot afford a bail of 2,000, and they have to spend a year in remand waiting for a case that will eventually jail them for a month. So that's a big injustice that happens within our justice system, which is very weird to call it a justice system. Yeah, that's what I think. But I don't think we have more popular. We don't think we have as many prisons as other countries per capita wise.
Thank you, Maurice. As you are contributing, I could recall once upon a time I was in cell, and I could remember that there is a guy who was arrested, and I think he had committed a crime of killing, and that person was held very carefully. For others like me, I was just caught up in town, innocently celebrating my own money. I don't want to say because doctors will. But the other guy was really taken very carefully, and he was not even allowed to sleep with us in that cell. He was taken into a special cell alone. So I could imagine the crime. The magnitude of the crime was handled in a very different way. But for us, we are just crowded, and they just want money. And then this brings to me, again, why do they exist? Could we say so that government can collect money? Because most of time, you find most of those facilities, most of the victims, or most of the people who get there, they are not committed serious offenses. They are just taken there for fine, And once you give back, once you give money, then you are released. I don't know whether we can also say, yeah, also a way of allowing government to collect money or revenue. Maybe I can't say more on that. Let's hear from El Maestro.
Thank you. So for me, I only have a few things to say about why they exist. Of course, they exist because religion has failed to do what it was meant to do. That's why these correctional facilities exist. If religion was really doing its job about morality, we would not need those prisons. So we need them because
Only
control.
only Paulo and Sila would be in prison.
Okay. So as I was saying, human beings, they always need something to do what to prevent them from doing something. There must be a question. If you do this, you will go here. So I think prison is just something that it's meant to keep law and order, and it's just like religion does. If you do this and that, you'll go to hell. Uh, that's the same thing with the prisons. Prisons they're doing the same thing that religion does with the heaven and hell. And also, okay, the second thing is I don't know if it is true, but what Boris has said, I think it has reminded me of someone who said this quote in this Zoom meeting. I think we're having a discussion about morality. Someone said Netherlands is a secular country, and Netherlands a secular country. It has a shortage of prisoners, but Kenya, a religious country, has a shortage of prisons. Because the Morris said there in Nakuru, there it was where he was taken. It was crowded. That there was a shortage of prisons. So I think for me, the from that thing I can say the poorer the country, the more the prisoners. Somehow I can say that not always that way, but because if you look at Scandinavian countries, they have a shortage of prisoners because the government provides everything for their citizens. If you are found in the wrong side of the law, maybe it's just that you are too greedy, or there's just something inherently wrong with you. But now here in Kenya, even if someone is just of sound mind, now the government is just it's like leaders are just there to benefit themselves, not much about the people but themselves. So that's why they make the country poor, and so the people, the wananchi, they decide they decide to take the risk and commit offenses. If they succeed, maybe they'll say, okay, I'll try one more time tomorrow. Or if they don't succeed, they find themselves there in prisons. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say for now. But I hope it is true that I don't know if it is true if in Scandinavian countries like Netherlands or Finland, it has a shortage of, and Netherlands and Denmark about a shortage of prisoners. I'm not sure if it is true.
Thank you, El Maestro. But as you are contributing, I was also thinking about the justice system and the population. If you consider the two countries, maybe let's say the Denmark and Kenya, where you find those cells are crowded, do you think all the inmates have committed crime? Can we blame the justice system? Because if you compare the two, maybe there are 3 people in a cell in Denmark and 20 in a cell in Kenya. And when you compare the crime they have committed, you may find the 30 or the 20 in Kenya, maybe 3 or 2 have genuine case that they have committed crime. And if you check in Denmark, maybe it is true, the 3 who are caught, they truly committed a crime. So I think it's another thing to consider. But like we may think we have many cells or many prisons with the, because the number of people arrested are many, but if you check the reason as to why those people were arrested, you find almost a quarter are genuinely there because they have committed a crime, and the other 3/4 are just innocent. Let's hear from Dorcas.
Okay, why do correctional facilities exist? I believe I answered this question partly in the first response I made. I'm sorry, I preempted the discussion. But those points I made still hold true, that we have correctional facilities for deterrence, for rehabilitation, for incapacitation, and for the fourth one. Why do I always forget them when I list them quickly? The fourth one is which one? Let me see. Incapacitation or retribution. Retribution, which is revenge. Revenge. So those are the main reasons. Now, among those 4, which ones do I think are legitimate and worth pursuing and sustainable? And which ones do I think are a bit superficial and maybe they appeal to our animalistic instinct, but they end up causing great inefficiency in society? I think we can all agree that we don't want a country that over imprisons its population. If the prison population is swelling, that is an indication that you are failing as a society, either in terms of the preventive aspect or in terms of the corrective aspect. Either way, you are somewhere where you're not where you're supposed to be. So, among those 4 that I listed, I think the most worthwhile one is rehabilitation, because it will keep somebody from reoffending. It addresses the root cause of committing crimes. Rehabilitation, I think it is quite sustainable. Then the one on retribution or revenge, I think that one is kind of it's kind of animalistic, instinctive. It's born out of a short-term need to see somebody suffer who made you suffer, right? And maybe that might not be an ideal goal, or it might not be as sustainable as we would wish. And in fact, if that is the primary goal for having correctional facilities, then we would have too many people being imprisoned because of the need for revenge. However, I support the goal of deterrence. I do think that there are some people who think twice before committing a crime when they know that there will be punishment. There will be negative consequences for committing a crime. So deterrence is a worthwhile goal. in my book, but it is still short term. Nonetheless, it is worthwhile. You're sending the message to the rest of society that, well, don't do this bad deed because it will land you in jail. So deterrence to me is worthwhile. And the last one was incapacitation. I think, yes, I think at some point there are people who need to be removed from society. At that point, when they are committing those crimes, they need to be removed from society, placed in the correctional facility. Then they are worked on in that correctional facility to deal with whatever issues they have before they are reintegrated back in society. So even incapacitation to me is worthwhile. The only goal out of the 4 that I listed, which I don't stand by, is revenge. Yeah, but maybe I'm being idealistic because I haven't felt it firsthand. Maybe if somebody raped me, or if somebody committed a violent crime towards me, all I would want is revenge. Who knows? Maybe I'm speaking from a point of privilege as somebody who is relatively safe. Jim, please mute. I hear feedback on your end. Now, granted, given those 4 main goals of criminal justice and correctional facilities, by and large, let me get into the details of specific reasons why people find themselves in jail, in prison, because we're talking about prison. Jail is short term. Before your case is heard, prison is where you spend your sentence. I agree with you, Mr. Moderator, that there are several cases where people are innocent. They're in prison because of failures of our system. We have examples of Gen Z protests. You remember that time during the Gen Z protests, there are people who were just arrested randomly for protesting bad governance. That's not a crime. That is a concerned and patriotic citizen, but we have them. In fact, there was a case I was listening to on Spice FM. They have a podcast there on YouTube. And this guy from, I think it was Huruma or Madare, he was 16 years of age. He was just walking around during the Gen Z protest. He was arrested and taken to jail. Then he was asked for, was it 5,000 shillings by the police? These guys live in the slum. They don't have this kind of money. So the boy ended up, and he tried to tell them that he's a minor, he's 16. They didn't believe him because he's tall. So the boy ended up having jail time. I think it was 6 months or 1 year. He spent it in prison. And by the time he got out, he was scathed. He was ruined. He became a hardcore criminal after that. All for nothing, for being out in the street. He wasn't even a Gen Z protester. He was just mistaken for one because he was outside at that time. I think he had gone to buy groceries, some skuma for supper. So that's one reason. Another one is mistakenly aiding and abetting certain illegal activities. In that, you're not the one who has committed the illegal activity. Other people have committed it, and then they have mistakenly, or they have deliberately included you in it, and you didn't know. Yeah, I remember listening to a prison diary case. I think this one was in Kamiti, and the person was doing prison time because he was given money to drive a lorry. Kumbe the lorry had stolen some rice. He didn't know that. But he's serving prison time. We also have false accusations by the police. Our police are corrupt. Sometimes they are given targets. I told you guys I've done jail time. I've slept in jail once. and I had gone for a meeting. I had gone for a networking meeting. That's where I get my clients for the communication training. So I'd gone for a meeting, And these policemen just pounced in there and told everybody to kneel down. And then we were rammed into their Range Rover and we were taken to Cunha Crescent police station. Then they started accusing us of weird things at witchcraft. Where? Because the meeting was indeed in somebody's house, but it was a professional meeting. Oh, Mara, it's witchcraft. Oh, Mara, it was an orgy. Where? No evidence. They just planted it. And then they told us that we have to pay bail of 10,000 shillings for women. Men pay a bail of 20,000. I made the hasabu from all of us from that meeting. They made around 400,000, that police station. False accusations. False accusations. It's not your fault. You can also be falsely accused by your family or friends. You guys know of that case of Julius Wambua. It was an expose done by Lulu Hassan on Citizen TV. She showed how this man was accused of raping his daughter. But the daughter later confessed that it was her mother who coerced her into making this false testimony. If he had good lawyers, it's very likely that he wouldn't have been convicted, but he was a poor man and he was a victim of circumstance. Yeah. So those are some of the reasons. Also, what Maurice said, inefficiency in the courts. There's a backlog of cases. A backlog of cases is keeping so many young people in jail. And in fact, I have to add young people because about 75% of our prison population consists of youth. Then there are legitimate reasons why we have correctional facilities. Oh, Jimmy is telling me, Paul, about the arrest. I tell you, I had to part with my 10K and get out of there. The worst experience ever. Anyway, yeah. So there are some legitimate cases of why people end up in correctional facilities. It can be religion, but now a different angle, terrorism. The Al-Shabaab or other similar terrorist organizations participate in criminal activities. They bomb different places, and so they commit crimes and they can end up in correctional facilities. We have gangs. There are people who belong to gangs. Dandora is very notorious for criminal gangs. Just look around at the stories they talk about. In fact, there were stories going on X and Facebook of this a gang banger from Dandora who was flossing his money and his guns until he was caught. So that some people commit crimes because of insanity. You are just mentally unstable, or other people are psychopathic. Those are the ones that are serial killers or who just go around committing crimes with no remorse whatsoever. Then there are others that commit crimes of passion. You come and find your wife in the act with another man. Pop. You take them both down and then you'll deal with the consequences later. So those are some of the reasons that I would bring out why correctional facilities exist. So when eventually we'll talk about solutions, I will come back to these root causes. Oh yeah, and I have to add poverty. I have to add poverty and unemployment. Now, I know I've spoken for long, but I'm dying to respond to that other question. I promise I will just have 3 sentences, Mr. Moderator, on that one. So you asked, why do some countries have a higher prison population than others? And of course, the United States takes the cup. Its population is 5% of the world, but it has 25% of the entire inmate population in the world. They over-criminalize their population. It's their laws that are too punitive, especially towards non-violent crimes and drug-related crimes, possession crimes. And some of these are actually racist in terms of who they affect. So I won't get into details. I think Maurice did a good job. Then there are countries that have a very low prison population and very low recidivism rates. Recidivism is the rate of reoffending. after you leave prison, how long will it take, if at all, for you to commit another crime? In the US, recidivism rate is 82%. Within the first 10 years of being released from prison, somebody will commit another crime and come back. In the US, 82%. In Kenya, it is 47%. We are not good, guys. Hatuko poa. And then in Norway, I think I wrote it down. I've lost it, but I think it might be something like 10 to 15%. It's very, very low. In fact, Norway's correctional system is a model one that the rest of the world can learn from. With those many words, I beg to hand over to you. Thank you.
It's okay, Dorcas. You have really expounded. And I think you have also answered question number 3. Who gets into the correctional facility? So thank you so much for such a elaborate contribution. Let's hear from Morioki. Yes, Morioki.
Sorry. Yeah, I missed. Just repeat the question. Can you hear me? I missed your question.
We were asking ourselves about why do they exist? But again, I could see Madam Dorcas has also handled number 3, who gets into them. I think we can combine those two at once for those who are yet to speak.
Okay, maybe like Dorcas, I'll give my short story. Like Dorcas, I was working in a cyber cafe once. Then the owner never used to pay his license. So I told him to pay his license. He used to ignore me. So one day these people of our city council came and they found that there was no license. So they were to arrest me. But then I called the boss. Then he said, I give them 1K. So I get them 1K and I was debt free. Then after 2 weeks, others came again, different ones. This time they refused a bribe, they refused. So we were taken, we were put in a vehicle to a city hall. Then the judge came and I was sentenced to 7 days in jail. So we were put in cell at city hall. We were put in a cell, like more, it was crowded. Then luckily my dad came and paid 2K. So luckily I didn't go in, but I was to go to 7 days in jail. And the people there were, okay, there were good guys and bad guys. But if one lady said that don't get angry. When you go to Langata, you see the real deal. This is nothing. Ukienda Langata, utaona. So luckily my dad paid 2K and I didn't go in. So that's an experience, but it was a bad experience. Being put in the vehicle, going in front of a judge, being sentenced to 7 days in jail. It was a bad experience, but luckily I didn't go in. Yeah. So now the people go in, like me, I was innocent. It's my boss who wasn't paying the license, but I was to go in for 7 days. Yet it's not my fault. In fact, I quit the job. I quit it. Yeah. So at times you can be innocent and you go in. So thanks.
You were not innocent.
Thank you.
I was innocent. No, I was innocent. Why not? I was innocent. It wasn't my fault.
Maybe to ask you a question, Morioki.
Yeah.
Do you think being sentenced for 7 days in jail, has it affected your future career or your life, maybe in terms of maybe clearance from the police or something like that? Has it affected your future?
Yeah. Okay. I feel that they wrote my name somewhere. So I don't know if I have a record. They put my name somewhere. When I paid the 2K, they have my name somewhere. So I don't know if that name is somewhere in the government. I don't know.
Morioki is a farm.
Unfortunate.
How would it affect his career?
And again, have you ever took a good conduct?
Yeah, exactly.
Have I?
Do you have taken a good conduct?
No, I haven't. No.
You can try because I think it's not much. I think it's 500 cities to see what about your CRMB about that.
Yeah. So am I on record? Because they took my name at City Hall. They took my name. So I don't know if I have a record. I don't know.
If you're not convicted of you're not on record.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
But
I had my was on record for, they call it hate speech. It's called what? Something intention to commit violence. No, incitement to violence. And it was showing on it shows on my good conduct. But then I went to court. I went back to court because I wasn't convicted. They had to remove it. So I don't think yours would be. And if you're there, then you have a reason to come back and fight it out.
But I was sentenced there. I was sentenced by the judge. I was sentenced to 7 days. She was very rude. In fact, she was a very rude judge. I was sentenced to 7 days in jail.
He works in county, Nairobi City Council. What do you expect? He wouldn't be. If he wasn't rude, he wouldn't be working there.
It's a she. It was a lady. A she.
Yeah. So I don't know, but I also don't know if county offenses affect your crime record. Mostly it's DCI who keeps the record. So I don't think they share data, but I don't know.
Just
quick one,
Morioki just
Morioki.
try to go at the apply for good conduct.
You also don't need a good conduct to grow cabbages and vegetables, Morioki. So it's a small thing, no.
But he can
Morioki, I'm wondering what was the sentence? What was the crime? Which
no license working, because my boss, he never used to pay the license. He was very, he never used to pay his license. And this was the second time. Yeah. The first time he paid the bribe. The second time they refused because it was different one. They said no bribe, let's go in. So they took me. I was the boss. I was the one working. I was in charge. So they took me instead of him. He was far.
It should be him.
Yeah, he wasn't there.
It should be him. That's unfair.
The owner of the business.
Yeah, that's his responsibility.
But you cannot condemn the city council unfairly. You see, city council, they are people. If they come and find you as a shopkeeper, and that shop has no license, you don't expect them to magically know, oh, you are just an employee. There's another person who is operating in it. It's just like if I found you in a place where they sell drugs, a facility where they sell drugs, and maybe your boss is Joho, but you are just there, you're just there, peddling. It doesn't. There is no magic involved with the authorities to know that, oh, you're not the one responsible. So that's why they convict you. This is not even.
Morris, then he said he'll bribe them. He spoke to the boss, and he said I give them money, but this time they refused. So they knew I had a boss, but they took me still. They spoke to the boss.
Who was operating the business? You or your boss?
My boss.
No, who was operating? Who was driving it every day?
It was me. Okay, it was a cyber cafe. Me, a cyber. Yeah. It was me.
You are the one responsible. You are the one operating a business without a license.
What? No, Morris. No way. No way. I was innocent. It wasn't me to pay. It's him to pay it, not me.
You should have refused to participate in a crime. If I planned a robbery and then you participate, would you say you're innocent because I'm the one who planned it?
This is a license, Morris. This is a license. It's a license, Morris, not a crime. A license. No.
Morioki, but Morioki, did you know that your boss has not paid the license? Did you know?
Yeah, and I used to remind him, pay. He used to ignore me. He used to ignore me.
Okay.
But you continued participating in the crime of operating a business without a license.
So he was a partner in crime.
And now you want to play innocent.
Okay.
Oh, that's nice. Okay. Let's hear from David.
I wanted to ask Morioki, if he had been a kid from Shags whose parents couldn't afford to pay that?
It was 2K, it was
You know what?
2,000. 2,000.
Yeah, you might call it just 2,000, but your father could pay. But there could be a parent that can't pay. Do you think your boss would have paid that? No.
He came very late. He came very late, in fact. He just came in to the place of work and left. He didn't even come with me to City Hall. I was alone. I was alone at City Hall. I was alone. He didn't even come. I quit the job.
Yeah. So the unfairness of the whole situation would have been seen if it was a kid whose parents couldn't pay 2,000. Then he would have ended up in jail. Even if it is in where Mama Mboga also goes. That kid, I don't even know when they get Mama Mbogas, where do they go? They go to that jail. Where do they go? County jail?
First, it's a place called City Hall. You know, in Davis, a City Hall. You know it in Nairobi.
Yeah.
City Hall.
Oh, I know. Oh,
yeah,
I know City Hall Annex. Oh, I know City Hall Annex. Yes.
Yeah. So we're put in a cell there first. Then from there to Langata. And luckily I paid, so I didn't go to Langata.
Okay, so that is where your case was heard, in Langata.
No, it was City Hall. When I was to go to Langata,
there is
I was guilty.
Oh,
Yeah, I was guilty of
all
not.
right.
Yeah. I was guilty. So next was Langata, but luckily we paid.
Wow. So that is where Mama Mbogas go. When Kaju collects them, that's where they, okay,
Yes,
and that's
yeah.
where their case is heard. Okay,
Yeah, I was with them. I was with them. In fact, that day I was with them. That same day, I was with Mama Mbogas. I was with many of them in the cell. We're together.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Muriuki.
Okay, let's hear from Jihi.
It's okay. So I wanted to add another point on the matter about reason there are crimes in society. Yeah. So I think peer pressure and substance abuse contributes in this. What I mean is, when someone is under influence of something, they might end up committing crimes and end up in jail. And when I say under, I mean influence, I mean we might find out that someone is financially stable, but whoever they chill out with, they influence them in committing crime. Yeah, that's my point.
Oh yeah, very true. I still have a chance to give someone who can contribute about who gets into these correctional facilities. And
would you want to hear from someone who's been there?
yeah, like we have had a case about Muriuki, but not necessarily who has been there before. But I think we have exhausted that point. Unless if someone has more to add, let's hear from ex-pastor Stano. Stano.
Oh, okay. Mike ilikuwa imepotea. So mine is just a few contribution I remember, for example, I may give example with my case. I had an accident. I caused an accident or I involved in an accident, but the person who was the other person is the one who had the mistake. But when the police came, traffic, all mistake were put on my side, and they wrote I was driving carelessly. But the person who I hate is the one who was driving carelessly, and he overtake me on my left side when I'm just doing U-turn, when I'm turning. So the way that the case was reversed to make I'm the one who is guilty and driving carelessly, when I knew I was driving very slowly, and the person who was from behind is the one who was driving carelessly. So that thing, even today, I wonder how that case came to be like that, because even today, I still wonder about that case. And to make worse, he was paid by his insurance. And then recently, early this year, he filed the case. He want me to pay him 200,000 for the money that he have already be compensated by his insurance. Although last Friday, I won the case, and he say you have no ground to be compensated again, because already insurance have already compensated for him. So that is how the judge dismissed the case. But the file indicates that I was driving carelessly. So if it could be in a crime case, maybe I could be in a jail. But because it was just a civil, that is how we just argue about the money, who will give the other person the money, or which insurance will cater for the damages of the vehicle. So something you may find is very unfair. You can go to jail for a crime that you have not done, because maybe you have just bribed the soldier to write such statement, which is not good. Thank you.
Thank you, ex-Pastor Stano, false accusation. Actually, you have reminded me a month ago, I lost a phone, and when I went to DCI to track it, and it was very expensive. The guy, I think, got the lady. I think the lady bribed the lady with my phone, and then the DCI told me, it seems that you slept with this woman and you did pay her, so that's why she is holding your phone. And when I heard that, I sensed something, so I just decided to go for that phone, because now that could have led me into another big problem. Maybe I would have been accused of maybe rape or something like that. Yet I've lost my phone innocently. So it is true, some of us they find ourselves in jail due to false accusation, and even the crime that we are convicted, when they are not actually our fault. So it's true. Let's hear from Jihi.
Yeah, I want to add a point about who gets in jail. I mean, who gets in these facilities. So I think white collar criminals, they deserve it, because they might be ending up fronting people, embezzlement or insider trading, and also substance users. I want to add on mentally ill people. Yeah, they might also get themselves in such kind of facilities. So even repeated crimes, I think they also repeated offenders, they also deserve that. That's my point.
Thank you, Jihin. Let's hear from Maurice. I can see your hand is up.
So the question is, who goes to jail?
Yeah.
So globally, who goes to jail is the poor. Those with very little money. Even in very developed justice systems like US or Western countries, just sit down and think a minute what it means to have a bond or a bail. So you have committed a crime X, you can afford the bail. Someone else has committed the same crime X, cannot afford the bail. Why should one suffer more than the other, yet you have committed the same crime? Well, so it tells you, it starts from inception, that at the point of being accused, you're not even being convicted, you've not even gone to trial. You're already being treated differently based on your income levels. Most people, even big celebs, even I think Didi was in bail. But other big celebrities in US, they've been given bail so high in terms of millions of dollars, they could not afford it. Even Trump was given, I think, almost 500 million in his case in New York, 500 million US dollars. Then they had to go apply to another court to revise it down so that now he could get to amount that he could raise. So it tells you the whole system, even from US to Kenya to wherever, the fact that it's a bond, they normally say a bond and a surety, or a bail and a surety. I think a surety is enough. If I've committed murder, even if I paid 10 million, if I want to run, I'll run. If I fear going to jail, there's no way 10 million or 5 million will ever hold me back to not showing up. But the fact that we could commit the same crime and end up, because of our difference in our background, financial background, end up having two different punishments, tells you that people who end up in jail and people who end up in prison mostly are those that cannot afford money. And also the case I told you before, most people are in prison because they cannot afford petty bonds. And that is why every time you hear these politicians arrested, Babu Owino, this Didmas Baraza, every time they are arrested for a day or a weekend, they come back. When I was there, they act like they're surprised. When I was there, I met people who could not afford a bond of 2,000, and I paid for 20 of them. And he thinks that's an act of philanthropy. People actually say, oh, what a good man. And this is an MP, this is a member of parliament who is supposed to bring laws for corrective, to correct the whole system. He's there. This is like Ruto giving you 10,000, meeting people in a crowd, giving them 2,000 each. And people are like, wow, what a generous man. What a good man. What a man with a good heart. Yet he's the one who's supposed to be in charge of the system that will make poor people not to be poor, that will make people not to need his money. So this is an MP who is supposed to make people be able to afford that, not be able in a situation where they're in prison, not because they're guilty, but because they're not able to afford it, a justice system. This is an MP who should be thinking broadly, like, let's come up with a law where we don't criminalize poverty. Because most people are in prison not yet, but remand, which is a bigger population of our country than even the prison system, the prison population. Remand, make sure that you don't put people in remand, not because they are criminals, but because they can't afford it. They can't afford it. So now the MP who is supposed to take corrective that is the one taking advantage of that giving tokens, and now the ignorant mass is there following and saying, wow, what a good man. What a good man was, who is rescuing 20 people from the mess that he created that he should be sorting out. The people in prison worldwide, this is not a Kenyan phenomenon. Any country that has a bond or bail is a country that discriminates people based on their ability to earn a living. So it technically tells you, it only means when the judge says you've been released on a 10,000 bail, it means if you cannot afford 10,000 bail, stay in prison. And that is why you found people faced in a dilemma where they have to accept crimes they never committed. Because if I'm going to stay in prison if I'm going to stay in remand for 1 year waiting for my judgment, especially with the Kenya judicial system, the way it's slow, I would rather just serve the 5 months and move on with life rather than stay 1 year and then eventually get convicted for 1 year, for 5 months. So I have to most likely have to admit either for crimes I never did, or do a harabe, or stay in remand. Because I can try to fundraise, but it doesn't work. So yet that is why you normally feel like they say the system is rigged against the poor in Kenya. Because you find other people doing the same. You imagine how many MPs we have in parliament who have been accused of murder. But because in Kenya, every crime is bailable, they can afford the highest bail, even if you put it at 50 million. Because even if it's beyond their wealth, the party will come and rescue them. So the people in jail, to answer your question directly, the people in jail are people who cannot afford to pay their way out of the system.
Wow, that's a very heavy point, because I can imagine the MPs that are killed, they are walking freely in the street, and there is a guy who was just accused of killing or murder. There is no evidence. He's rotting in jail. So, very true. Who are in jail, the rich are free. I think we can move to the next question, because I can't see anybody else who has raised their hand. And our next question is the effect. Do they really help the target? That's our next question. What are the effects of getting to correctional facilities? Do they really help, or do they bring more harm to the convicts or the target? I think this is where Muriuki should tell us more. About it, because I think you said you visited someone. Sorry?
Muriuki should tell us more whether he learned his lesson or he's continuing with his crime.
Do they really help, or do they harm more, or they bring more harm to the convict? Yeah. Yes, Muriuki.
When you plan it, yeah.
Muriuki, your mic. We can't hear you.
Muriuki, your mic, we can't hear you, Muriuki.
Kama umeswitch kwa Airtel. I think mute and then correct. Muriuki, mute and then correct yourself. Yeah.
This is nothing. Get angry when you Langata. Anthony, can you hear me now?
At least now we can hear you.
Mute Muriuki and then back.
I'm clear now.
Also, also, if Anthony, you can mute. If everybody mutes, it helps with his mic.
Okay, yeah. I was telling Maurice, I didn't commit a crime. Maurice, I did no crime. Then I'm saying in the cell, that lady said that don't get angry. This is nothing. When you go to Langata, that's the real deal. This is nothing. You're annoyed now. Wait till you go to Langata. This is nothing. So it was a very bad experience for me. Yeah. So again, like I was saying, I spoke to people here country, and Maurice is right. If you can't afford to pay, you'll go in. So I spoke to like 5 people, 3 men and 2 women. Then one guy told me that in cell, they sleep with lice and bed bugs. And you're told don't kill them. If there's a bed bug, don't kill it. If it bites you, don't kill it. If you kill it, it's an offense. Shauri yako. So they sleep with lice, bed bugs, and then the food, even when they go to the washroom, they go less because the food is so little. They eat little food. So they go to the washroom less than normal because they eat like 1 meal a day. Then he told me once that even they lose count of days. They don't know whether it's Monday or Tuesday. They don't know. They lose track of the days. Then also they bath together. This was the lady. They bath together, old and young. You're showering together in the same place with cold water. Then they work with cow chains, hard labor, these chains of cows.
How was that one? How was bathing a threat? How was that a threat?
Young and old together, young and old bathing together, young girls and old. In fact, that was a lady. They bath together with cold water at the same time. It's not more. It's not funny. Maurice, don't laugh. It's not funny. Then they work with cow chains.
Walikuzia uoga, Morioki. That is 30% of what happens. They sought for you fear. They wanted you to pay the bribe, obviously.
No, this is people I spoke to now later. These are people I spoke to now who've been there up country, who've been locked up. Then also I was told, what was I told? You're beaten. Like now, if somebody is rude to an officer, you're all beaten together. The whole group. If somebody is rude to one officer, you're all beaten together. You get punished for one person's offense. Yeah. Then that's what I can remember. I was told. Then yeah, that's it. So it's so one changed. One said he can't go back there. It was so difficult. It's a bad experience. So he says he'll never go back there because he really suffered. So he was humbled. It humbled him. So he said he'll never go back. Even the lady said that you get diseases, airborne diseases. Yeah, you can get like TB because of the people who come there when they are sick. So now those things can come to you also, airborne diseases. And then doctors, they are gays. I was told people pay for food. So you offer your body for more food. So doctors, again, gays there is a negative thing. Even women, lesbians, gays, it's rampant in jails. And if you're caught, you're beaten. I was told if you're again, you're caught, you're beaten. So thanks. I'm done, Anthony. I'm done.
Tony, you're muted, but we've had a lot of rumors, unfounded rumors. Anthony, you're muted.
Maurice, it's real. Maurice, they've been there. Hook up country, Mashinani, they've been there.
You are told exaggerated stories by people who had interest in you not going to jail, because you going to jail, it means you give them money. Walikuzia uoga. Of course, partially what you say happens in jail. It's not denounced. But the way you say a congruence of things together, I've been there. It's not as you are. If you are straight, you're not going to do whatever you need in jail. But anyway.
For food, Maurice, for food. If you want more food, you give your body. If you want more food.
Well, when I was there, they give you not very nice food, but it's 3 meals a day. So I partially agree that it's not the best food, but I partially disagree. This is meals served to everybody. So where will be your gay partner be getting this food?
Kindly, Maurice, I think you should respect Morioki's perspective, because even your perspective is anecdotal. You went to one jail. Did you visit all the jails in Kenya? The ones Morioki was referring to were unique. to that experience,
at least for
and
me,
gave the
I
experience.
visited a jail.
You are speaking.
Morioki was told about a jail. Me, I visited a jail. Morioki was told about Langata. Me, I visited one. My evidence, both of my evidence is anecdotal.
He was
Maurice also went today.
I don't think you should discount. Maurice, I don't think you should discount his assertions because your experience in the jail you went to, it didn't have those things. No,
that's not my
basis. Disagree there.
My basis been to different jails. I don't think the situation Morioki is painting is taking patches here, there, and there, and painting it like the whole justice system is there.
Okay,
First of all, you talk about the victim. It is. I know I have people. They have relatives who work as prison warders. It happens once in a while. It's very isolated cases because those people normally get punished for it. So I'm not denouncing it happens. It's one of the isolated cases. But anyway, what do I know?
I was there today. I went to one today, Maurice. Just today.
Were you beaten?
I went to see somebody. I went to see someone.
That's enough, Morioki. Let's hear from Dorcas. I could see your hand was up.
Okay, let me respond to something which Morioki said. I respect whatever he explained. Jail is not pleasant. In fact, it has always been used as the benchmark. If somebody doesn't know how to cook, hizi chakula zako zinaonja kama za jela. It's a known fact. They don't give you culinary delights in jail, and the experience there, the food, the way you sleep, and how they treat you. It is a known fact that it is unpleasant. Maybe the details might differ here and there, but it is highly unpleasant. But what I would like to disagree with on what Morioki spoke about is the gays and how he brands them. I've told you time and time again, there's nothing wrong with being gay. The problem is if the gay person rapes another one. If they have sexual intercourse with another individual without their consent, whether it is straight or gay, that is the problem. That is the problem. However, if it is consensual between two individuals, I see no problem whatsoever. Wajibambe. In fact, there are some jails in Latin America, I forget which country specifically, that allow inmate relationships. The lesbians especially, because they find that the hardcore criminals, they tend to simmer down when they enter into a relationship. So there's no problem with being gay. The problem is if they forcefully have sex with someone. If people are being raped in jail, then that is criminal and they should be punished. That's
food. I was told that you offer your body for food. If you want more food, you offer your body. That's what I was told. To get more food.
So you're giving your body to who? To the cooks?
To another inmate, so that you get his food. Because you're hungry. You're still hungry. So you want more food. So you sell your body to get his food. To get more food. You get. So to eat more.
Is that consensual? You see, my basis is rape. Was it rape? Was it consensual or not? If this person went to the person because they could gain something from them, that's a problem with the overall system. It isn't a problem with gayism. It is a problem with the overall system, the fact that people don't have enough food in jails, that they're using it as a medium of exchange. That they're using food and sex as ways to get by. But that isn't a problem of the gay people. Don't demonize gay people unless it is rape. And we've heard of rape cases those need to be stopped. The wardens, if they're happening, the wardens need to clamp down on them. But if it's consensual, wacha watu wajibambe. I'm not in your bandwagon, Morioki. Now, the question is, do correctional facilities work or make things worse? In other words, what is their effect? Right, Mr. Moderator? That's the question? No, they do not work. Especially the ones here in Kenya. In some parts of the world, like I said, Norway is an ideal country to study in terms of making correctional systems work. But here in Kenya, it is not working. Why do I say so? I look at recidivism rates, the rate of reoffending. If somebody goes to jail, to prison, I'm using the word synonymously, and yet they might not necessarily be synonymous. So if somebody goes to prison, they should undergo a change in behavior so that they don't repeat the same mistake again. But if they go and reoffend, then that shows you that the system did not correct their behavior. Recidivism rates are a very good indicator of whether your criminal justice system works. So, as I said earlier, in Kenya, our recidivism rate is 57%. Almost half of the people, the inmates who are released, go on to commit crimes again. What does this show you? It shows you that we have not fully rehabilitated them. We have not addressed the root cause of their crime. I don't know whether you people can still hear me. I'm seeing the screen frozen.
Yes, we can hear you clearly.
Oh, okay. My Wi-Fi is fluctuating. Yes. So we have a high rate, a significant, moderately. It's not like US. US is 82% in US recidivism rate, but in Kenya it is 47%, which is still high. In South Africa it is 70, I think 74%. It's also very significant in South Africa. Now let me whittle it down to Kenya specifically, because that's what affects us. We are not addressing the root cause of criminality. For the genuine cases, as we stated earlier, there are people who are arrested for no reason. They are innocent. We have so many innocents. As Maurice said, poverty is the greatest predictor of conviction in this country, right? Poverty. So there are people who are innocent and they shouldn't be in prison. But then for the ones that are in prison, the ones that committed crimes, maybe they were drug addicted or alcohol addicted when they committed this crime. My friend is a public prosecutor in Bungoma County, and he told me close to 90% of the violent cases he addresses are people who are intoxicated. 90%. So if we don't address that element of causing people to commit crimes, they will reoffend, obviously. Or it could be poverty. It could be the fact that this person is unemployed. They've been born in the ghetto, Mathare, Dandora, Kibera. They didn't finish high school. They don't have any skill, any employable skill, and they already knocked up some girl. They have mouths to feed. What do? They steal, they pickpocket, or they might even go ahead and use a little weapon. Yeah. So if the correctional facility does not address that component of employability, the fact that this person has no marketable skills, then they'll go and reoffend and come back, right? In fact, I was reading an article published by the Star newspaper, and it was saying that many people reoffend. They did a study. They cited a journal article that was looking into recidivism in Kenya, and they found that there were certain people that were coming back to jail very fast. They don't even finish 1 month after being released. And when they would charge them, they would plead guilty immediately. So later it was established that these guys were starving. These guys, they didn't have food. In prison, you get regular meals. They pay for your medication. Some of them had diabetes and other chronic illnesses, which the prison system caters to. But when you're out there, hey, how do I do it when I don't have a job and I don't have any employability skills? Even entertainment is catered for in the prison system. In as much as we paint it in a negative light, for someone with nothing, prison is vastly superior than going back to a village or a slum where they have no means of earning a living. So,
but to correct you, it's not just for someone with nothing. I have a friend who was convicted of drug trafficking and quite a transport weed. And when in prison, he got leg cancer of the leg. And it was just about a month to his release. He refused to go out. He bribed the prison official, the system. He stayed in prison for 2 more years so that he could get free, because they normally take him to Kenyatta Hospital, which is one of the best, even as an independent person. If you get cancer, you won't go to Kenyatta Hospital. So he stayed in prison for 1 more year beyond his nini, so that he could get it. He could get this treatment, and that is how he survived. Otherwise, he would not have afforded it. And he's not a very poor person. So it's not just for the poor person; it's an escape for people who are average. Yeah.
Indeed, that shows you how our social protection system is not working. Our healthcare system is not working, such that inmates have a better option than the general population. Let me just add one more point before I call it. These people reoffend, because I'm using that parameter, reoffending, recidivism, as the indicator of success or failure in prisons. And these people, you find some of them, like they did a case for Lamu, and they found that some of them belong to gangs. And when they go back, there's usually some rivalry, either within the gang, because this person sold them out, or some other rival gang. And it becomes almost untenable for them to stay there. Or you find that tag of being a criminal, the fact that you have done time, it stigmatizes them, and they can't get a job. They can't get a means of earning a living when they go back out there. So what do? They get desperate, commit another offense so that they can go back to jail. I think that's what I wanted to say. I still have more, but let me pause it there. I'll add on why I feel the criminal justice system or correctional facilities don't work.
Awesome. Thank you, Dorcas. Let's hear from David.
Thank you. I wanted to mention Muriuki's point where he said that another prisoner can get food for another prisoner. That kind of sounds as if a prisoner can get food from maybe the cooks. I don't think it's another prisoner. The other prisoner is also having the same ration. I think there's a power. There is probably a power what can we call it? A power struggle? No, a power leveling. There's a power system where food is concerned. And we all know that food is very, very important. So there seems to be a power thing, but I do not think that is the prisoners who have the food. It is the cooks who have, or maybe the guards who can get you an extra plate. Anyway, and let us also get it clear that when people go to prison, not everybody is going to turn gay because they are in prison, but there are people with high libido and they want to sort their problems right away, and they want to find a way to sort their problems, and they can find another man or another woman is a way to sort whatever problems that they are dealing with libido-wise. That if you can't manage your libido, then, or you can't control your libido, then you want to go crazy. Anyway, let's not go there. Now, the reason, or rather now, the prison system is not able to change people. That, you know, they go there and they probably come out more hardened because the prison population, or rather the population that they've been living with, are probably not the most straight people, and some are willing to brag what they got away with even before even before they got pro prison, and what they did when they when they came to prison. One of my aunts was in Langata during the Mau Mau, and she used to talk about the conversation. She was more talkative. I was the only one that talked about it. My mother wouldn't talk about it. My other aunts wouldn't talk about it. And she said she would name them, and she had killed her husband. So everybody is in Langata for different things. Some are for Mau Mau, and others are, and she would talk about this one that had killed her husband. And I was too young. I was way too young to understand what. It was only when I grew up thinking that, okay, this is Langata, and this is where Aunt was saying that she was with a woman here who had killed her husband. And so I was thinking, when you are with somebody like that, and you see that they are okay, they are normal, they have children, and you can see that they do take care of their children, it's going to affect you somehow, and start thinking, well, if you mess up with me, I'm also going to kill you because so and so killed somebody and they looked normal. So I'm just saying that the influence that can happen in jail, and therefore the psychology of jailing people needs to change. How they are treated in there, how whatever services that they are given in there, they ought to change. Yeah, that's what I would say. And also the reason why some people would feel more comfortable inside prison walls than outside with us, because obviously we do not accept them after they come out, unless you I don't know. I think maybe people used to accept. I didn't think that anything was very wrong with my my parents and my aunts who were in Langat. I don't think that there was anything very wrong with them. They were maybe they were accepted because it was Mau Mau. I think if it was murder, it might be different, but I do not know. So I'm just saying that the prison system has not been engineered or been structured to help and to punish and to help. Yes, to punish and also to help. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam David. And as you are contributing, I was also thinking about the stigma. Does that mean the people who get convicted and they get out here again after they start their prison term, they have kind of a stigma? They face the community they face out here, they face some stigma? considering the case of your aunt or your relative who was there, what do you think about it, Madam Dev?
So, yeah, that is why I was thinking that because they were there for Mau Mau and the chiefs who were taken there, them there, and all that. And they were the majority. I'm going to say that it was weird because they were in the same village with the home guard, and the home guard is
David,
also my uncle. Where?
David,
Yeah.
there's so much static all of a sudden. There's static. Did you change anything?
Okay. I did not change anything. I'm just going to take down the volume a little bit and then see if that changes a lot. It could just be my provider. My provider has been shaking for a month or so. How is that?
Still there.
I think that's a microphone issue.
Okay.
That's not your internet issue.
Oh, yeah.
You are smooth. You can be smoothly, but you're not like intermittent. It's only that there's noise. There's a speaker noise, microphone noise.
Oh, let me try to see. Okay, wait to see if that changes. I've just brought the computer a little closer. And yeah, so the home guard was their relative, and the jailed people were they were all relatives. So, but from what I could see, they were living. Yeah.
Can you touch me? There's something you've changed about your microphone because it's really like loud. The noise is louder than you.
Oh. Okay, I'm going to go a little farther away from it. How's that?
Oh, it's not that. It's inaguza mahali, like there's something you done to it before that.
I didn't touch it. What I can do, I'll go off and I'll come back. So let you continue. I'll log off and I'll come back.
Okay, but look at the microphone. It's a microphone issue. It's not even an internet issue.
And I haven't even touched anything. Okay, I'll be back. Thanks.
Okay. Let's hear from Jihi.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I think I have a different approach to this. Because I see benefits. I mean, all I see is if somebody is taken
to these so-called correctional facilities. In this, we are going to think widely because I think it's even rehabilitation centers are also, they correct people. I mean, those who are mentally challenged and those who are fighting addictions. I think they give a solution to those kind of people. They also restore justice to those who have offended. You know, revenge is the sweetest thing. Yeah. So when someone who offends you gets detained, you feel really good. And another point is that someone who has killed someone else, if they get imprisoned, that means that dangerous person will be away from the society, from other good people. So they also provide rehabilitation, like counseling people and helping them to be more human, to be more like human, to have empathy. That's my point. Thank you so much.
Anthony, you are muted.
I'm saying thank you, G. According to our comment section, it means Madam Juliana is really willing to contribute something. Welcome, Madam Juliana.
Yeah, thank you very much. So it seems I have a new Zoom interface. I can't find the button. So thank you for contributing. And this may already have spoken before, but I just thought I would raise my hand. So somebody talked about stigma. Okay, so yes, we shouldn't be stigmatizing people who've been to prison because they've already paid their dues. So it's like okay, let's bring in religion. So when you go in front of the audience or in church and say, "Hey, I confess my sins last week, I stole, forgive me," etc., you should be forgiven, and that's done. Then you're a new person. So that's how it should be, even with people, our relatives or friends who go to prison. They've done their time. When they come out, it's okay. But unfortunately, that's not how it works. So one of the things that happens here in Canada for a job, like when you get a job offer, they say conditional to criminal check. Like literally, they will go, they'll take your name, your social insurance number, they'll check all there is a database, they'll check a police database, they check to see whether you've done any crime. And then they'll give those results. You bring those results, you give them to the HR person. So the HR person will go through what the crime was. And if it's a really, really, really bad crime, you might not be hired. But there is no way you will not be hired because you had an original crime. So for instance, if somebody's crime was they stole money, then of course the bank will not hire them because they say we can't let you work with us because you stole money. But if the crime was, say, I don't know, you accidentally killed somebody with a vehicle, but now you want to work for a bank, they could hire you. I actually supervised a fellow. I don't know what his crime was, but there was a lot of rumors that he had a criminal record, and I didn't care because he'd done his time. He worked well. He was not a criminal anymore. So we got to be careful about stigma. Otherwise, we're just repeating. No, otherwise we are being worse than the Christians. And I think our prison system is actually better than being a Christian, because if you're a Christian, you commit a crime, you will go to hell forever. At least in our prison system, you do your 5 years, you do your 2 months, and you're out. You're not punished forever because you did a crime. So let's see what else. And then back to, I'm glad, Dorcas, thank you for clarifying the issue about the gays and lesbians. Yes, that can happen anywhere, and so long as it's consensual, that is okay. So thanks. Thank you for the opportunity to contribute.
Welcome. I think I'm checking whether Madam Deva is back. Yes, she is back. So I'd like to give you this opportunity, Madam Deva, to clarify what you are saying.
Okay. How is that? How is the static now?
You're okay now. Very clear.
Okay, I rebooted. Yeah, I rebooted my speaker. So so I was saying that because these people lived in the same village, and you know, when you are a kid, sometimes you might not know the dynamics between people, but I think in the most part they were okay. But the one person that is remaining always says that, do not ever forget that so and so, your uncle so and so was a home guard. So I think there might have been undertones that kids miss a lot of things when adults are very, very careful. Kids can miss a lot. So yes, I think they came out of the prison maybe because maybe a lot of people at that time were in prison, and maybe maybe people were more forgiving that time, or because whatever it was seen as not really a crime. It was just mau. It was just because you are against the government, so that might not have been seen as a crime. But people who I know who have been in prison for crimes, I think, all Well, that's funny. They seem to have been accepted, although they've been derailed. I think most of the people I know have been derailed by that. And while I'm at it, hey, guys, make money for lawyers, because it is something that somebody used to say, that his mother told him that make sure you have got money for a lawyer. So that way it makes sure that you get fairness, or you get out of prison if you've got money for a lawyer. That is the unfairness of the system, that the people that have the money can get out of it, and the rest can have to rot in jail. And that's thank you.
You're muted again, Anthony.
Sorry, I forgot to unmute. Thank you, Madam Deve, for that. I can see Muriuki, your hand is up. Kindly contribute.
Thank you, Anthony. So I want to tell Dave, what I heard was like when you're given food, you both have food. Then if you're not satisfied, you ask somebody to give, you ask somebody else to give you his food. So because of that, the guy asks to do that, the gay thing. Then you get your food. And David, that's my point. That somebody else will give you his food because he wants your body. And then you agree. That's my point. And also I want to add on what Nali said, Juliana. Yeah, I spoke to a lady again just yesterday. She was arrested she was accused of stealing money from my group here country. And she said her reputation has been scarred. When she came from jail, people see her differently. So like she's saying, Juliana, there's stigma now because people now see her differently. Then also another point was I was told, like when they're in jail, they work in the rain. When it's raining, they still work. So whether there's rain or no rain, you're forced to work. Then when you get sick, you get medicine and you're still forced to work. You just get medicine and you continue working. Fine, thanks.
Thank you, Muriuki. We are still handling this issue of whether the correctional facility, they bring more good or harm. And but again, I think what you are saying, Muriuki, I can put it in Swahili. I think itama, if the guy is not satisfied with food, then you want more food from somewhere else by just sacrificing your body. You cannot blame the jail. You cannot blame them. It is because of your own greed that has made you to sacrifice your body for more food. So I think we cannot blame jail. That is an individual choice. I want to give this opportunity to Madam Dorcas.
Yes, I wanted to continue where I left off on some of the effects of correctional facilities. Now, in as much as I have stated that most of our correctional facilities do not work because of their significantly higher recidivism rate, I do think there are some few success stories. I remember watching a documentary done by Deutsche Welle DW, and they were following the case of one lady called Wanjiko from Langata Women's Prison. She had been arrested for child negligence. Of course, she was saying she's innocent. And it seemed like a very shaky case because they said that she left her children with their grandmother, that is her mother, and that constituted negligence. But if the kids were under their grandmother's care, that's not negligence, unless the grandmother was disabled or something. But I think that was an unfair ruling. Nonetheless, she served her time. So they were taking us through her journey in Langata Women's Prison, and she underwent training. They trained her on how to make soap and how to make yogurt. There was an NGO that targets inmates, prison inmates, and they teach them these skills. There are several NGOs in different fields. There are some, like I know this one from the UK that is here in Kenya. It teaches inmates law. In fact, recently you heard of that case of the former Miss Langata. I think she was Miss Langata 2018 or something. A very beautiful lady who stabbed her boyfriend 20-something times. Yeah, killed him in cold blood, that lady. And she was sentenced to death. We still give death sentences in Kenya. She was sentenced to death. And I think this sentence was revisited. Now she's doing life. She graduated recently. She now holds a law degree. And I remember there was a member on our group who is always anti-women. So he's like, people are celebrating that former Miss Langata for graduating in law. But if it was a man who stabbed his wife this many times, I'm sure people would be so angry. I'm like, who are you to predict people's reactions? Yeah. So she did get her degree, although she'll not apply it because she's in jail for life. She's still serving a life sentence in jail for life, but she's using that degree to help her fellow convicts to maybe shorten their sentences or to appeal their cases. So there are different types of volunteers or NGOs that come to prisons and teach people skills which they can use. Now, back to that case study of Wanjiko, she took her skills back to the village and she started selling the soap. I think that is a ray in the dark. It gives me a little hope, in as much as that's not the story for most convicts. For that particular lady, it worked for her. She was able to learn a skill and she was able to apply it. So if we can prioritize that in all prisons, if we can empower the inmates by teaching them concrete skills, I would prefer things that use the hands mostly, because those ones you can be self-employed. You can create a product and sell it. You don't have to go begging somebody for a job because there's stigma around former convicts. People don't want to hire them. So I think we need to teach them. We need to teach them hair dressing skills, mechanics, plumbing, metalwork, woodwork, all those things. I think they need to be taught so that they can be able to create a product from start to finish and sell it, a product that is ready for the market to sell it. I think that needs to spread more. It's not the case for all the inmates that go into prison. So I had to bring in that other side of the debate, that for some people it does work in that respect. But then I'm giving it one hand and taking with the other. Let me go to the other side. There are several harms that take place when somebody does time in prison. I think Deva mentioned this in passing. She talked about the hardening of criminals. If you were taken into a prison because of a non-violent crime, maybe you were driving under the influence, or maybe you are trespassing. You know, these are just minor things, and they are non-violent. But then you do prison time with hardened criminals. Some of them can teach you their criminal ways. they can entice you into it, and you become a hardened criminal. They can recruit you into their gangs, or they can even supply you with drugs. By the way, drugs are available in some of those prisons. They're just they're just more like you need a lot of tact in order to access them, but they're there. So if we can avoid taking people to jails in the first place, let's do that. Let's start with that. Of course, we'll address that in detail when we're talking about reform or solutions. But I have to emphasize that, and I have to refer you to the case I gave of that guy from, I think it was Majengo or Madare, whichever slum, that 16-year-old who was a purported Gen Z protester, and because of police corruption, he did time, and when he came out, he became a real criminal. Innocent upon reception, but upon exiting, he now became a hardened criminal. So we cannot ignore that component. I also think there's something it does to your psyche in terms of making you distrustful of people, especially in most of our jails. The warden considers themselves to be this authority figure that is there to make your life difficult. It's a corporal approach. You know, we assume that this is supposed to make people remorseful or maybe scared, and they wouldn't want to come back. But I put it to you that it actually has the reverse effect. It triggers somebody's animalistic instinct. You are always on the defense. And to see how the opposite is true, go to a prison like in Germany. Germany, they are also getting it right. Go to those Scandinavian countries, especially Norway. You know, there was a Chicago team from the US that went to Norway. I'm finishing up. This is my last point. It went to Norway to do a case study, to benchmark on how to have good correctional facilities. And the first thing they notice is the attitude that the wardens have towards the inmates. The wardens actually greet you. They greet you. They treat you like a human being. They say that the punishment is you being confined. It's taking away your freedom. That's it. We don't need to compound it by, them treating you like you're a nothing. Which is the case with our wardens. They're so authoritarian and but with the ones in Norway, they greet you, they tell you about the program today, and they actually give inmates a lot of decision-making abilities. Some of our prisons here in Kenya and in some of the high prison countries, they deny inmates agency. You don't make decisions a lot. Everything is decided for you. They infantilize you. They make you like a child. But in Norway, they give you opportunities to make decisions. It's the inmates that run everything. They're the ones that cook. They're the ones that tend to the gardens, to the food that they grow, everything. Inmates are empowered to make those decisions. And it softens them. Even those murderers or rapists, it softens them, and they're able to think twice about the crimes that they commit. So that's the part I had to bring in there. The effect that it has on your psyche, it makes you like an animal in a cage, and your defenses are up if it has a corporal approach. But if it has a humanistic approach, as the case is in Norway, then that mellows you down, and it's likely to make you have a reckoning for your crimes. Thank you. Ni hayo tu kwa sasa.
Well, thank you, Madam Dorcas. But I have a question towards you. Do you think someone who has been jailed for the crime that have not committed. What do you think what do you think would be the effect of such a person?
That's for me.
Yes.
Okay. I think it makes you remorseful. I think it makes you distrustful of the, on the system, because you think, what is the point of being a law-abiding citizen when this is my reality at the moment? So it can lead to hardening of this person, because they're like, yeah, why be a law-abiding citizen if I'm going to be punished in this way anyway? It is very detrimental. We should try as much as possible to only convict genuine cases. Let's not punish innocence, because it has a downside. It definitely has a negative effect on the person, and it might turn them into real criminals. Who knows?
Very true, because I think we have several cases where people comes out very bitter. Like I saw a story today in the history of our career where a guy was sentenced for 6 years. No, actually was sentenced for life, but in the 6th year, the guy was discovered to be innocent, and he broke down in tears as he was being released to go home. So really very heartbreaking moment, which can turn a convict into a real criminal or something else bad. However, this person was very innocent initially. So it's true, our judicial system should observe on that and be very thorough in investigation before you convict someone to be guilty of an offense. Thank you. I think we have Murioki. Yes, Murioki.
Yeah, Anthony, thank you. There's something I didn't share about my story. What happened after I came from City Hall, I left the job without telling my boss. I left in a very secretive way. Then I came to upcountry. Then when he called me, I couldn't answer his phone call. I refused to pick his phone calls. Then eventually, I picked his phone call. So my point is now I became someone very crafty. I left the job slowly. I didn't tell him. I went upcountry. I ignored his phone calls. Then in the end, I picked his phone call. When I became, like Dorcas is saying, I didn't trust people anymore. After my experience, I stopped trusting people. Thanks.
Yeah, that's another effect to Murioki. I think according to the order of our topics, I would like us to talk about I think we can skip this case of number 5 and go to number 6, cases that we have had in media. I think we have touched that thing in one way or the other. So I think we can skip number 5 and go to number 6. How to reform them. How can we reform our correctional centers? We have heard about harassment. We have heard about others who are being treated in a very respectful way. Being in jail does not mean you should be harassed or disrespected, because all of us, we are candidates for being there. Sometimes you can find yourself overcome by emotions and commit something that can land you there for life, just for a second. let's see. Let's hear how we can reform our correctional center, our jail system. Morioki.
Yeah, a quick point. Today when I was there, I saw them playing chess. They were playing chess, and chess is a good game for the brain, because chess helps in your concentration. So I was impressed by seeing them playing chess. Thanks.
Thank you. Let's hear from Madam Deb.
I think the first thing to notice is the structure. Now, I think many people end up in prison or do whatever they do because there is a mental health component that has not been addressed, or even if it has been addressed, it has not been successfully addressed. So I think other than the people who are there who are innocent just because they didn't have a lawyer, there are many people who are there because they have got issues that have not been addressed. And you can jail them and unjail them, and the issue still has not been addressed, unless the prison system can address that. But I don't think that the system, I don't know how well the prison system is equipped to address people's psychological issues. So when we are jailing somebody who has got an issue that is not addressed, the issue is not being addressed. Okay, that is number one. And number two, when they are dealing with real criminals, then there has to be multifaceted ways of dealing with a real criminal and show them the damage, the results of, or regale themselves in the results of what they have done. And then they have also to have to escalate a way of dealing with the people who actually enjoy harming others. So it can't be very simple. We have to have the psychiatrists and psychologists to understand who is our prisoner. Do we have a chicken thief, and the person is just a thief because Baba did not win, and so they did not get the how much money was there for social support? Because sometimes that 1,000 shillings is the one that is keeping your phone safe, your 20,000, 50,000 shilling phone safe, because anaweza enda akanunua unga, akanunua sukuma wiki, akalisha watoto. So he does not have to knock you down, achukue hiyo simu yako. So those are social. That is a social issue. So it is not going to be just a prison issue. It is going to be huyo mtu aliiba kuku. Why are we jailing them for these months? Na yule mwingine alivunja benki akakimbia na mamilioni. We haven't even recovered those millions. Na tunafuata mtu wa kuku. Why? Because mtu wa kuku, we can get them very easily. And then the people are happy because mulishika mtu wa kuiba kuku. Okay. Muibiwa kuku also has got one kuku. You see why that one kuku is so important, because muibiwa akona kuku moja. Muiba kuku has no food. So it is a very emotional. But when you are telling people about a million shillings, what is a million shillings to somebody who has got one kuku? It makes no sense. You see? So all those things have to be addressed by the people who understand the system better than somebody who understands just their one kuku, because it is at that level where the emotion is, and where umeiba kuku yangu, nachukua panga na kukatakata. You see just that mess that has come from a situation where everybody understands where they are. but they do not understand anything else outside that. So I think the US system knows what they have is a mess. The Canadian system know what they have is a mess, and they have refused to copy what the Scandinavians have, whereby you treat people as human beings. You remember the broken window analogy? You treat people well, and what happens? They do not want where they are to be dirty. They'll go and clean it before you tell them to clean it, because they have seen that you respect them, and they have seen that you expect them to respect where they stay, their rooms, their environment, their gardens. They go and do it, and you did not tell them to go at 8 o'clock. They are there at 8 o'clock. They are there at 7, and you did not tell them that. They go there and they do the work. So I think you address those who can be addressed the right way. Those who cannot be addressed in that way, like you escalate it until you reach the level of the hardened, the people that are harder to reform. But I know the Canadian system it works like the well, not exactly like the American system, but it also does not address the issues seriously. They try. For example, people, immigration people, you are not kept there. You are just, you are not taken to prison. You are taken back to your country. We'll pay your ticket to go back to your country, other than put you in. So there are some things that they get right, but mostly they get it wrong. We have to try to see how the Scandinavians figured how human beings have to be treated. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Madam David. It was such profound. Let's hear from Madam Doka.
Yes, I believe this is the most important part of the discussion, and Deve has given us a pretty good head start on that front. Image spotlight, sorry. I was trying to lower my hand. Lower hand, good. Aha. What are some ways we can reform the prison system? Like I said, in order for you to solve a problem, you must understand the root causes. So we have to go back to why correctional facilities exist in the first place, or why people commit crimes in the first place. Once we address that, then we will be home and dry. So my recommendation number one is to reduce the number of people that are getting arrested and being convicted in our criminal justice system. Let's reduce that number. I believe, I am of the opinion that prison should be for hardened criminals, for psychopaths, sociopaths, or people who have committed violent, repeat crimes. That is the ideal demographic for prisons. But if somebody has committed a non-violent crime, or if somebody has committed a petty crime, then we need to explore other alternative ways of punishment. Our criminal justice system needs to become more creative. It is usually, right now, it usually just does fines or prison time. And as we said, with fines, people who are poor cannot afford fines. 40% of our population is struggling to get by. So where are they going to afford the fines? That's not a good way of punishing people. I think we can learn from some people out there. There's a judge in the US who had gone viral in the 2010s because of his creative ways of punishing. I think it was, he would make you acknowledge the mistake that you have done. He would make you expose yourself in public. For instance, there was this guy who stole a bike and he was required to ride on the bike in a parade the whole day. And the bike was plastered. I attempted to steal this bike. Yeah. And everybody saw him. He felt very embarrassed and he decided not to do it again. Or there was this one who was accused of animal cruelty because she left a dog for a week in some really dirty place. So as punishment, instead of taking her to jail, the judge decided that she spends 8 hours at a dump site, collecting some specific thing and inhaling all of those bad fumes, which the dog she had neglected felt. And other creative methods. And the person would be asked, either you do this punishment that I'm giving you, this creative one, he wouldn't call it creative, maybe you'd call it peculiar, or you go to jail. People would go for the peculiar method, and his recidivism rates, reoffending rates, were lower. From that court, they were lower. So he was sending fewer people to jail, and they were not repeating their offenses again. So we need to be more imaginative in terms of punishment. Let's reduce the number of people that are getting into prisons in the first place. If it is non-violent, let's use that method, community service or restorative justice. If you've taken something of mine, restore it, apologize, and restore that item as long as you have it. So that's my first suggestion. The second suggestion is for us to reform our criminal justice system. As we said, there's a huge backlog for many of these cases. Some people even confess to crimes they did not commit in order to minimize the amount of time they spend in remand. So we need to clean up our court system. Let's clear that backlog. Let's have a high turnover of cases. Let's not make people waste away their youth because of our inefficiency. Reform number 3 would be changing laws that target crimes which are not really crimes. For instance, prostitution. I've told you guys time and time again, I see no victim with prostitution unless maybe it is a cartel and all that, or somebody's being trafficked. But otherwise, if it is willing seller, willing buyer, why are we criminalizing prostitution? We also need to change the statutory rape cases. In statutory rape, it is when you have sex with a minor, even if it was consensual. And we have these cases that they involve a very small age gap between the offender and the target. Usually it is maybe a girl who is 16 and her boyfriend, a girl who is 17, her boyfriend is 19. If the age gap is small between individuals that have sex consensually, even if one is slightly older, maybe he's 19 or 20, right? Yeah, I don't think they should be convicted. We should have Romeo and Juliet laws that acknowledge that when there's a small age gap between the parties and it was consensual, then it is not technically rape. Let's change that. Yeah. Another thing I think we need to change is drug possession laws. Here in Kenya, we can get arrested and convicted for possessing drugs. I don't think jail is the solution. As Dave said, this is a person who has an addiction, right? And even not everybody who possesses a drug, who holds a drug, is not everybody who is committing a crime. Yeah. Unless they're trafficking the drug, of course. That's a totally different scenario. But just possessing the drug, that should not be a criminal offense. It shouldn't. We are filling up our prisons for nothing. We need to eliminate such laws that over penalize the population. Now, I've mentioned that. I think Deve addressed the mental health. Let me not belabor that point. I also talked about economic skills. I think it is crucial for us to equip people with skills to sustain themselves. And as I said, I have a bias towards handmade products that they themselves can sell. Then we also need to teach them how to sell. Yes, now you've made the soap, now you've made the yogurt, now you've made the piece of furniture. How do you sell it? They need to learn digital marketing skills. How do I go on TikTok? How do I go on Instagram and sell merchandise? There, we need to teach them that. We need to give them everything they need in order to sustain themselves. And the last thing I want to say, this one might be too long. It might be too long, so I won't even get into details. Maybe somebody else can pick it up from there. But it's changing our society. It's changing our society in terms of poverty, because as we said, there are some people who commit crimes because they need to feed their families. Our social health system, healthcare, like the example of Morris's friend who got cancer, and they bribed the warden in order to stay in so that they could get health care. We need to reform our education system so that it is more practical, more hands-on. Our kids should be able to code by the time they leave and find employment. We need to work on parenting, because even neglecting children is a problem. And drugs, access to drugs. Those people who are trafficking drugs into our country, especially in the coastal area, they need to be clamped down, because once somebody is under the influence of drugs, they are likely to commit crimes. So we need to deal with that as well. Overall, that's what I have to say on reforming the. Thank you.
Wow, that was so good, Doctor. As you are speaking about drugs, I think it is very true. Possessing a drug does not mean I am a trafficker of the drug. So I think the best thing is to find the source of that drug, but not to just take someone to jail and sentence them for years because you found them with bang. The big question is, who is supplying these 10 people we have arrested? Only one person. So this is the only person that should be in charge. Think also about the fairness in employment. I would say most people who commit some crimes, like we have heard about cyber crimes, and like the other day we had an issue of FBI arresting so many people. And when you check these people who are being arrested and being sentenced, they are brilliant minds who are handled and should be given an opportunity to do such kind of things, maybe in our DCIA. Because if someone can be able to hack systems, this is a very brilliant mind that should be given opportunity to work for the government. So I think, again, to reduce such cases of we need also to be very fair and consider even the people who have talent and give them opportunity. But here in Kenya, you find the dump are the one who have been given high offices to lead the smart brains, and it is chaotic. Again, I think I was also thinking about the military system. We need to reform our military system so that they can be able to handle their citizens with respect and with and being sensitive, because you cannot just get out and go and arrest anybody you find walking in town because it is at night. Because even me, I was arrested because it was at night. yet I was coming from job. And we need to reform our police to teach them and to educate them to know how to handle their citizens. Because I think they are becoming like our enemies, because the more we encounter them, the more we become treated unfairly. So sometimes you see them and like the other day I saw someone saying, now we no longer communicate with my brother since he became a police. Instead, should be the other way. You should be even more closer to tell them the rules and regulations and to teach them a lesson like what we have today. To tell them how to abide in the law, what to avoid, some things that you should avoid to do. And now you become a police to distance yourself from even your own family. So think something is wrong there, need to be addressed. Mental health, I think Dorcas has talked about it, economic empowerment. There was a point that I had someone in Poteza, but I'll remember it. Now, our tonight's discussion, I think, was very important and very influential to remind ourselves, even us who are here, we need to remind ourselves we are also candidates of getting into jail. When I was growing up, I used to hear my community saying, every time someone was arrested, I could hear them saying in Kiswahili, wacha aende akanunue akili. Then they used to call those cells kanyumba kamawazo. When you are locked alone there, you think, you rethink, and then when you get out someone else. You become more careful. If you had insulted someone like Morris, now you become very careful with your one. Next time you will not be throwing once anyhow. If it is fighting, next time you won't be triggered so easily to fight people. And again, knowing the freedom that we have today, even sitting where you are today, you have a mobile phone, you have internet, you can communicate, you can walk out, go to the market, buy your things and come back. It is not for granted. Someone who is in prison cannot have such kind of freedom. So again, you see, to me, it is a sensitivity or a sensitive topic to sensitize us and remind us that freedom is very important, and we need to take care of ourselves in how we handle others, because I believe going to prison or being jailed, it's a matter of how you are handling others. And that's why someone is separated from the community and you get restrictions on where to stay alone or with a certain group who has a certain behavior like yours. So those are the target are the people that we cannot stay with them together, like under us, we know very well. There are people who are very dangerous that we cannot coexist together. So we need to separate them. So again, freedom. How to enjoy freedom is very important. Again, teaching people those morals, I think, could be also help us reduce those cases of prisons and jails. And again, I back up the idea of Madam David. even when people are in prison, we need to have some professionals who should go there to dig deep. And the government and the judicial system should trust such people, because you can go there, dig deep, know why so and so is in prison. And that person, when they are in the lowest moment, they will speak the truth. Some will just say, for sure, I was fixed in this situation. Like a case of a man who was jailed because the wife coached the girl to confess about rape cases, which was not there. And I think there are even those who, in their lowest moment, they will speak the truth and confess, yes, I committed this crime. So in this case, I think the judicial system and the government should have such kind of professionals who will go now and dig deep in the prisoners to know the truth, to let them speak out the truth, to let them confess. I think that can also reduce and also can even, instead of hardening those who have been convicted, they can even make them better as they get out there and say, yes, justice was found because I was released after confessing the truth. And even the next victim will not be hardened or will not be hardened or will not become a criminal, because they know very well, even if I've been sentenced with wrong accusation, I still have another chance to go and express myself to be given a pardon. So I think those are my contributions. I don't think if there's anyone who has an additional point, so that I can hand over the meeting to
Morioki.
Yeah, Morioki. I can see the hand of Morioki.
Okay, thanks, Anthony. And just to close, I want to ask a quick question. How bad is weed? Because I see weed is everywhere. You see cocaine, heroin, opium, they are rare. Lakini weed is everywhere. And I see people have been arrested because of weed. And even in videos, you see weed being smoked. So question is, how bad is weed? And again, I watched something about South African prisons. In South African prisons, somebody said because the prison was so bad, they were in such a bad condition. But when he was asked by the reporter, why are these prisons so bad? He said they come by themselves. We don't invite them there. The prisoners go there by themselves. It's not an invitation. It's just like it's your own fault. It's a bad place, but you come by your own decision. Then this is for Anthony and El Maestro, because you're teachers. I watched a lady who said that the battle starts in the classroom. When you're in court, you've lost the battle. So school is vital to avoid prison. So if you're a teacher, start with the kids when they're in school, because when you go to court, you've lost the battle. Yeah, in fact, it's a real story. It's a real movie about a teacher who changed kids who are very wild. So the battle starts in the classroom. When you go to court, it's done. Then, like the last point is today, I went to prison today. I saw a friend of mine who's in jail. He reached Form 3, then he left school. He was rebellious. Then he left school in Form 3, and now he's in jail right now. So school is vital. Thanks.
Thank you, Morioki. You have reminded me about in classroom situation. Actually, I normally tell my students, I am not just teaching you mathematics, but I'm also mentoring you. I'm also nurturing you, because some behaviors we observe them, we handle them there and there to make them a better and future citizen. So it is true what you are saying, Morioki. We can also reduce starting from classroom. And I have several cases actually. I myself have managed to correct. By the way, we were talking about who who get into prisons or into correctional center. I have not heard anybody talking about people who are trying to commit suicide. We have not discussed about it. I would like us maybe to say a few points about it actually, because I remember I had a suicide case actually from a guy who was doing mechanical engineering. I had a lecturer discussing about this guy, the way he's rebellious and all blah blah blah. So I went behind the door, found the guy. I set a room. We talked, we talked, we talked. Instead of backbiting with the lecturers, I went to look for the guy. We talked, the guy broke into tears and he changed his mind all of a sudden. Today he is administration police somewhere. Today he has the certificate already, he's administration police somewhere. And every time I call him, he send me money. So I told you, I will stop calling you because I'm not calling you to send me money. But he is so grateful, like today he is employed, today he is alive, just because I decided to look for him and talk to him. That is one of the cases. I have so many cases actually. And the point is, this was a suicidal case. But again, I wonder, why do we arrest people who tried to commit suicide? I still don't understand why. Do we need to punish them or do we need to talk to them? Do we need to help them? We have to sentence them. Is a prison a correctional center indeed? Yeah. Yes, Murioki.
Yeah, thanks. I think for suicide, if you jail somebody, it's like a joke. If you try to commit suicide, you need counseling for sure. You need counseling to be helped. But if you go to jail, that's one big joke. And that's my opinion. Suicide needs counseling. Thanks.
The problem is with our system. We arrest them, we jail them because they're trying to commit suicide.
Oh, Anthony, they say you belong to the government. Actually, every person belongs to the government. So the government owns you. So if you try to commit suicide, your heart is in the government. That's why they arrest you. You belong to the government.
Really? Now, when we are in problem, do they come to assist me because I belong to them?
It's the law. It's the law.
Okay. Omondi has been here from the beginning and we have not heard your voice. Kindly salimia and tell us something. Omondi. I think he is not in position to talk. So at this point, I want to hand over the meeting to
Anthony asked a question about weed. Weed. How bad is weed? How bad is
okay.
weed? Because it's
How
everywhere.
bad
Weed
is
is
weed?
everywhere.
Actually, yeah, I had forgotten that. How bad is weed? Okay. My take is my genuine take is if you are taking alcohol and alcohol is being sold in almost in every street of Nairobi, even to shacks. My take is I don't see anything wrong with it because there are so many people who are taking it and they are very okay. They don't commit any crime. The drugs that we are taking, they have it. We have had people dying because of smoking cigarettes, but I've never had someone who is dying because of smoking weed. That's my take. And I don't think, actually, when we make it illegal, that is when it is even sold in large quantity. If you have not noticed. So, I don't know, but I can't say more than that.
Because it's Anthony, it's everywhere. It's illegal, but it's everywhere. You go everywhere, you find weed. It's so embarrassing. And they say it's illegal. I feel very embarrassed when I see guys smoking weed and it's supposed to be illegal.
It's like talking about prostitution. I heard Docker saying, why are we criminalizing prostitution? But now when we make it to look like illegal, it is done even more than everywhere. Every street, everywhere, even in our plots, Ukundani. So I think the other day we were discussing about abortion. When we talk about illegal abortion being illegal, you find it is even done more than you may think. So I think the big issue, give people freedom to do what they want, and they will find there is no meaning in doing it, as long as they don't trespass the rights of others. That's my take. That's my take. So I think I can hand over the meeting to Madam Dorcas, our host. Again, thank you so much for giving me opportunity to lead you great people. It is also giving me discipline because at least it has maintained me alert up to the head. I end to sleep for 1 hour before coming to the meeting so that I can be relaxed. So
These
thank you so
people
much.
with their nocturnal ways.
Again, I'm also learning. I'm also coming out stronger by giving me such opportunity to lead you people to be your moderator. So thank you so much for giving me this challenge. And I'm very grateful. Have a lovely night, all of you. I hand over a meeting to Dr.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Anthony M., for carrying us through that session. Before I mention the participants, I wanted to throw in 2 quick points, and one of them is responding to Muriuki's question. So the first point I wanted to make is on mental health reformation. Ndebe was saying that she's not sure the correctional facilities system are equipped to handle mental health issues. And yes, she's right. For the most part, most of these wardens or staff that work in correctional facilities are not equipped to deal with mental health issues. However, that is not the case for those ideal countries like Norway. In Norway, the wardens are trained thoroughly. You have to have, is it a master's? You have to have a bachelor's and then an additional degree on top of the basic one before you are hired. They are paid properly and thoroughly. And and they also receive mental health training. Let's not delegate that duty to some other external party. Let's infuse it within the correctional or prison system. So they train them to handle mental health issues. Every day when they report to work, they look at the cases of the inmates there. What are their mental health challenges and how can we support them in order to overcome it? So I think they need to be infused. It shouldn't be thought of as a separate idea, because if we are rehabilitating them, let's rehabilitate all the causes of crime. So that's what I wanted to say on that. And then for Morioki's question, how bad is weed? I'm very liberal on these laws. I think the government should get out of people's private business. You know, legalizing, I mean, criminalizing weed is just like criminalizing alcohol. It has the opposite effect. It just makes people go underground, or it means that the quality of weed that circulates might not be properly regulated. But if you legalize it, then at least they can be expected to abide by certain minimum standards and everybody can be protected. So I am of the idea that the government should not be criminalizing any of these things. Like weed. For the hard drugs, highly addictive drugs like cocaine and heroin, of course, those ones need to be criminalized, but not possession, because the drug addict is a victim. It is drug trafficking or drug dealing. If you are selling the drugs, then you are the problem, but not the individual that is using. That one is a victim. So in terms of what the government should do, should be that. But in terms of the effect on people, weed has varied effects. For the most part, I think for the general population, it isn't that bad. I've never tried it, but I've dated almost 70% of the guys I've dated have smoked weed. And they were okay. They were fine. Walikuwa sawa. Kwanza me, there was another one who used to be so mellow and so sweet when it is high on weed.
They say when
So
you take more weed, you become more. Well, let me not say that one.
That one that you mean, that's the one.
Exactly.
So me, I had no issue. Like he functions in terms of his work or his personal responsibilities. He can be counted on. He's fine. Like all the other people, all the other guys I remember that were on weed. Hakuna mwenye I recall who had challenges. However, if you have a mental health problem and then you compound it with weed, you are walking on thin ice. You are walking on thin ice. Many of the cases I've had of people with bipolar, people with schizoaffective disorder, people with schizophrenia, it tends to worsen when you take weed. Even those flare-ups, if you have hallucinations get worse when you take weed, when you compound it. So if you have a mental health problem, be responsible. Stop taking weed. It has been shown that it isn't good for your brain when you are already vulnerable. However, if you are a normal guy, then it's not that bad. Of course, there are some cognitive changes. There's nothing that is harm-free. There's no drug that is harm-free. Cigarettes, alcohol, they obviously impair your cognitive abilities. Even weed, there's something that it does to your cognitive abilities, and there are people who find that they become slower. It just impacts you, but it isn't that dire, the way you would consider something like cocaine or LSD or heroin. So yeah, those are weights that somebody has to do. The person who decides to take weed for themselves, they have to weigh the upsides and downsides and decide for themselves whether they are willing to put up with those cognitive changes, because it's a personal decision. and the government should get out of it. Yeah.
Actually,
So
as you are
that's
saying,
Thanks,
Dorcas,
oh.
actually, as you are talking about weed, you
Mhm.
have even remembered that even the police who are arresting, I have a case where police would arrest anybody they suspect have weed so that they can take it from them and go and use it.
Oh no,
So
no.
he told me that he was getting it in that cheap way. Wherever he wants to smoke weed, he'll get into the street, arrest few boys, and get some few rolls to take. So
abuse of power. Oh my. Yes,
Anthony,
yes.
will you jail
So guys,
Anthony,
it is
Anthony,
Yeah.
will you jail you? Anthony, will you jail the person? Will you take it to jail? Would you jail the guys with the weed? Would you jail them?
if they commit a crime,
No, weed. I'm saying the weed guys, the guys of weed. Were they arrested and taken to jail?
no, he
Some of the
don't take them anywhere. He just take them
it takes
around,
their stuff.
pick them, and then release them.
okay, fine, so
Right. So
Yeah, the police are, of course, known for misusing their power, and it is not just Kenyan police. I personally, I know I've also got to be careful with the Canadian police. If I'm to be stopped, I'm not going to stop somewhere where, and this country has a lot of places where there's nobody near. It is a big country with very few people. So I always say that you are going to follow me. I'm going to put my blinkers on and you are going to follow me to a gas station. If you are going to kill me, it's going to be in front of some camera. Otherwise, it is you and those power. I don't know what happens with the police and the power. Anyway, you all know how it is. It's a power thing. Yeah, thank you.
True. Indeed, you need to cover your tracks when the police have been shown to be corrupt time and time again. Right. So thank you once again, members, for participating. Thank you, Maurice, for those very interesting anecdotes that you gave us, as well as some clarifications here and there. Thank you, Jihi. I think this was the first time that I saw you in the meeting. It was good to hear from you. Thank you, El Maestro, Ex-Pastor Sano. Thank you, Ndeve. You contributed a lot in the discussion. We are so grateful. Thank you, Juliana. At least you spared some moments here and there to be able to say something. And thank you, Morioki, for your contribution and your questions. But most importantly, thank you so much, Anthony, for honoring us with your time, for steering this ship. It was very well run. We were right on time. In fact, this is exactly when we need to be ending the meeting, and that's exactly what has happened. So we hope you can honor us again in the future for another topic. I wish you guys a wonderful night, morning, afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. Let's catch up next week. Bye.
Okay, good morning, Kenya. Good morning.